Hi there, everyone. This is back to the guitar. Let me turn this down a little bit, or change my camera. I don't play the guitar too much anymore, so my chops are pretty much, I've lost my prime chops. This is Ernie Ball, Music Man Majesty. Really quite a lovely guitar. It's got a lovely fingerboard. I like the radius on the fingerboard. I like the quality of it, the frets. It's an ebony fingerboard. One thing that I will say, I try and be honest and fair with all assessments, is I do not agree that any builder should put large inlays, plastic inlays, into a wooden fingerboard. Why? Because you have dissimilar substances being laminated together. It's a very thin inlay, and you always are going to have adhesion issues. Wood absorbs and dispels moisture. As it does that, it grows, it absorbs moisture, it gets bigger. It dispels moisture, it gets smaller. So it moves. And plastic, it doesn't do that. But this thin plastic, it's going to expand and contract more with just slight temperature variations. So that's going to cause de-adhesion. Is there a better word than that? I think there is. It's not coming to me right now. But sadly, this lovely guitar, the nice, beautiful, pretty inlay that they made here, it's got a slight hairline crack down the middle of it. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. Yeah, there you go. I think you can just see it there. Right down the middle. But it's a beautiful guitar. It's got a nice weight to it. It's not too heavy, but a nice body. It's got a really cool design in the sense that it's got piezoelectric pickups built into here, into the bridge, and you've got an extra toggle switch, and this will toggle between purely electric guitar standard magnetic pickups versus magnetic pickups plus the piezo, or you've got just the piezoelectric, or piezo, whatever you wish to say. On the back here, we can see some other interesting things. We have the mag boost. We've got, it's flipping at mirror image here, but the magnetic piezo mix, so the blend between the pickups, you can adjust that. It's got the piezo treble and the piezo bass, so little tiny Phillips head screwdriver, and you can adjust those. So it has some interesting adjustments. The tremolo, I haven't used it, and sadly this fella bought it secondhand and got it to me. It was missing its tremolo arm, so I don't have a tremolo arm that fits it right now. I can't check it out, but the new owner of this guitar has owned this same model guitar before, and he claims that this tremolo stays in tune really, really well. The guitar has another interesting feature. It's got what we call an intonation compensated nut. And if you see there, I'll try and get it so that it reflects okay. It's got little indentations for each string that deviate the length of each string, and the deviation is slightly different per each string. That's called an intonation compensated nut. Usually we do intonation compensation at the saddle, and I don't know if it was Gibson originally or Fender originally, but they made Gibson made the quote-unquote tune-o-matic saddle, or they used it. It might have been someone else who made it. I don't know the history of that so well, but they're individually adjustable saddle lengths. So you adjust the string length individually, and that means that basically the core thickness of the string adds a stiffness to the string. Okay? Now, if you think about it, mathematically it would be wonderful if the actual release point from the saddle was mathematical and that was the perfect pivot point. But because these strings each have a bit of a stiffness, the average actual vibrational length of the string is deflected a little bit inwards from the saddle. So when we measure actually a scale length of a guitar, we don't measure we don't measure from nut to saddle, because that includes the intonation compensation, which adds a slight bit of length to the string. And that's why you will see with an electric guitar, once it's adjusted properly, all of these saddles will be at slightly different lengths. Okay? How much cost for this instrument? Yeah, I'll play a little bit too there. Amos, am I saying your name correctly? This guitar, Canadian, was secondhand about $3,000. Brand new, apparently they're about $5,000. That's Canadian dollars, so 5,000 Canadian is probably about 3,200 American dollars. And so, Nicholas, your dad likes rock. Nicholas is actually my second name. I like rock and roll too, and I like a lot of different music. So I studied jazz mostly myself, but I played gospel and gospel, jazz, blues, rock. When I was a kid, played folk. But yeah, so back to the intonation compensation. That's why you have different individually adjustable saddles to correct the intonation for the stiffness of the string, so that the actual realistic vibrational pivot point is in slightly from the saddle. And the scale length, when we measure a scale length of a guitar, it is nut to the 12th fret times 2. And if you do nut to the 12th fret times 2, the length will, if you look at my fingernail there, it will actually not be there. It will be in slightly from the actual saddle. Okay? And that's for classical guitars, that's for steel string acoustic guitars, that's for electric guitars. And it's depending upon the type of string on the instrument and the type of instrument, there's different average amounts of intonation compensation. So a classical guitar tends to have a bit less intonation compensation than a steel string acoustic guitar. And that tends to have the most intonation compensation compared to an electric guitar. Electric is kind of in between. But electric guitars with the tune-o-matic saddles, or the individually adjustable saddles, they have the best individual adjustability, so you can get the intonation bang smack on. Okay? Regarding the intonation compensated saddles, or not saddles, the intonation compensated nuts, I'm not a huge fan of them. I've had some other guitars come in with them, and it hasn't offered any extra correction for the intonation. So I'm not a believer. Some people are believers and they won't do anything else, but those people are very, very few, just so you know. I'll play a little bit of music. Like I say, I don't play much anymore, but I'll just try and see if I can make a little bit of pretty noise here. I'm going to turn up the guitar amplifier so it comes through. Okay. That's a bit thin. There we go. Whoops. That's a bit of a tune from Pat Metheny, I think. Again, Titanic music. Let's see, what's that Titanic song? There's nothing I fear. I don't know. I can sing that song, but I've never played it before. Anyway, pretty good. Thanks, Nicholas. I just got the remnants of a guitar player in me. I used to be pretty competent at the instrument, but not so much anymore. I focus on other things in my life, and repairing and building guitars is one of them. So if you have any other questions, maybe pop them up right now. I can answer you some more questions about the instruments from a technical point of view. Or after this post, after I finish the live, I'll put it on my channel, and you can post some comments there, and then I can answer them by text message later. And if you want to see anything in a future video, let me know. Okay, thanks for sticking in. It was a fairly short one today, but I thought this was an interesting enough guitar that I wanted to share it with the world. Wolverine BGM. What's BGM? BGM. I don't know what that means. Wolverine background music. Is that it? Okay. Yeah, I don't know the Wolverine background music. I like Wolverine the character, and the actor for it was pretty awesome. But what's the difference between metal and rock? I guess that's a pretty good question. Rock and roll includes metal. So metal you could describe as a subgenre of rock and roll. Rock and roll would include anything that, even music that tends to be country rock can be included in rock and roll, to thrash music. Some people might include grunge music into rock and roll. So rock and roll is the bigger genre, and metal is a subgenre of that, and it tends to have a certain sound, very, very, you could say loud and very raucous. A lot of emphasis on power chords. Let me see. I've never really been a metal player. That's one of the genres that I'm not into. I'm going to try and put a different noise on the amp here. Just folk, dance, rock, country blues, rock pedal. We'll see what this does. I'll see if I can make some rock and roll sounds on it. Yeah, that's a little bit more rock and roll. So that's a bit of a Led Zeppelin. I didn't play it really well. Led Zeppelin riff. It's been a long time since I've rock and rolled. Been a long time since I've got this soul. I don't know the words. Carry me back, carry me back, carry me back. Right. So that's rock and roll. That would be you could say classic rock and roll, whereas metal is more like. Here, I'll play one of the first real heavy metal bands. You'll probably recognize this one. So that's Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water. That would be like one of the earlier true quote-unquote heavy metal bands. And then you get stuff with, like I'm just going to try and improvise some heavy metal here. Heavy metal uses a lot of these, we call them power chords, and it's the same block pattern where you have the first, you have the fifth, and you have the root again, the octave. And that's heavy metal, people just take that block chord position and they just move it all around to make cool sounds. And it tends to be very aggressive sounding, very hard thumping. Whereas rock and roll is a little bit softer compared to that. It's still raucous and loud, but a little bit more melodic and a little bit more harmonic, you could say. But I hope that answers your question, okay? Anyway, I'm going to sign off for now. Leave a comment later, put a thumb up if you like it, and if you want to, subscribe. I haven't been posting a lot of guitar videos recently. I had a big project that took me about a year, so for about a year I've been not posting too much, but I'm going to try and post some more coming up in the next few weeks and months. Okay, cheers. God bless you, everyone. Hope you have a good day.